Willkommen. Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Sean Huggins and this is React with Hugs. Thank you so much for being here. Today, I have an interesting video. Check this out. 5 signs you're raising your kids in Germany. This should be interesting, I think. What are the differences between raising your kid in Germany and raising your kid in America? I think we're going to find out. I'm very curious, that's for sure. But before we get into that, I want to give a quick shout out to Comadvx. Yeah, they donated €5 and said danke. Comadvx, danke auch. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and thank you for the nice comment. I appreciate both very much. But let's hop into today's video. Los geht's.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well.
Whoa.
In this video today,
Where is she from? Ah, New Zealand. She's a New Zealander.
with you the 5 signs that you are raising your kids in Germany. As a
All right.
New Zealander who is raising my 2 children in Germany, I have to say
New
that
Zealand.
becoming a mum has been the biggest culture shock that I have experienced so far in Germany.
Okay, this will be extra fun for me because she will be comparing it to raising kids in New Zealand. And I can compare it to, well, I guess not raising kids in America because I don't have kids, but growing up and being raised in America. So we'll get 3 perspectives. Wow, wow, wow.
And although New Zealand and Germany share very similar core values when it comes to raising our children, we also have very different parenting styles. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this today. And I don't want to generalize too much because I know that not all German parents are going to be like this and not all New Zealand parents are going to be like this. But overall, this is what I have experienced in Germany. Okay, so with all that being said, let's get into it. One of the signs that you are raising your kids in Germany is when you are at a playground or a play group or play date and a German mother will tell your child that they do not have to share their toy with their child. And okay, I'm going to give you an example of this because this is something that happened to me the other
No sharing allowed in Germany? You're not allowed to share in Germany? What?
day, and this still always shocks me a little bit. My little boy Matteo, he's 2.5 and he's not very good at sharing right now. He's learning, but he's not the best. And we were at the playground. He brought along his favorite truck and a little boy came over straight away, grabbed Matteo's truck. He was crying. So my first reaction when I saw this little boy crying, like most New Zealanders, I said, Matteo, why don't you share your truck with this little boy? Maybe you can play together. And then the little boy's mother, who had seen everything that went on, said to Matteo, no, you don't have to share your truck. That is your truck and you can decide whether you want to share it or not. I'm just always
okay, interesting. I wouldn't say that I disagree with the German way, but I will say that in America we are raised the New Zealand way, which is, oh, you should share with the other kids and stuff like that. And I definitely see the benefit of both sides, but that's just how I was raised, was like, you share with other people, you know what I mean? Interesting. All right, let's continue.
a little bit taken back when I see this reaction from German parents because this is not how this situation would be dealt with in New Zealand. And I've talked about this before in another video. I gave like an example with a little boy sharing his ball. It was a similar example and this just happens all the time in Germany. It's also happened, Matteo has gone over to kids and started playing with their toys and the mothers will jump in and say, no, that is my son's toy and he gets to decide if he wants to share it. Honestly, I get this. I can understand why German parents do this and it makes total sense. It's just something that I am still trying to get used to. I've noticed that many German parents are very direct and very confident in their role as a parent. They're not afraid to tell you exactly what they think and that can be kind of intimidating.
The German directness. This is definitely a German stereotype. Germans are direct and to the point.
When you're a new mum, especially a new mum who is not from Germany. Another sign that you are raising your kids in Germany is when you start to get overwhelmed with the amount of shoes and protective weather gear you need to buy for your kids. My little girl Amelia.
So protective weather gear and shoes you have to buy a lot of in Germany, I guess. And I mean, that makes sense that in New Zealand, they probably have a little bit warmer weather I would assume. So maybe you don't have to do that as much.
Is in her last year of kindergarten, and this winter I think I had to buy her maybe 8 pairs of shoes. I'm not joking.
What?
And she is constantly growing. In Germany they take kids footwear very, very seriously, especially in winter time. So this year for winter in kindergarten, Amelia needed snow boots, gum boots, regular boots, shoes, house shoes of course, sport shoes, and also they do sports inside when it's really cold, so she needed these kind of like gymnastics type shoes.
Yo, what the frick? Okay, yeah, we don't do that in America. We have one pair of shoes that is your all-terrain shoes. If you're lucky, you get 2 pairs of shoes maybe, but like it's not expected that you have 9 different pairs of shoes for every different thing that you do. You might have your normal shoes, and then you might have shoes for activities, like physical activity, and then maybe shoes for when it's not nice out, like boots or something. But that's probably most of it. I would definitely not say that you need like 8 different pairs of shoes typically in America.
So that was 7 pairs of shoes, and during that winter she grew out of a couple of pair of her shoes, so I think I had to buy like 9 pairs of shoes all up. It is serious business trying to keep up with the kids' shoe situation in Germany, and not only is it footwear, it is protective weather gear. Amelia needs a complete snowsuit and a complete rain suit, and she is constantly growing, so I'm just
Yeah, we don't have either of those things in America, at least not mandatory for, kids to have to go to school or anything like that.
Constantly having to buy her all of this gear. And in Germany, it's kind of like there's no excuse for bad weather. Kids need to have the gear to protect them from any type of weather, because in Germany it snows.
Okay. I like that though. I like that. I mean, it's going to be a lot to deal with, a lot to keep up with, but it makes sense. You got to keep yourself protected from the weather, and you learn that at a young age, so that's good.
Rainy in winter, and the kids still want to go out and play. In New Zealand it's pretty different. I know we don't have this kind of extreme weather, but I feel like New Zealand kids, they can get away with wearing 1 pair of shoes for every single occasion, and we just don't really care. We don't take it that seriously. Also, another thing, German parents only buy really good quality shoes for their kids, which I think is a really good thing. I also buy good quality shoes for my kids, but they can be really, really expensive. So,
dude, how do you afford to buy 9 pairs of high quality shoes every year just for one of your kids? What if you have multiple kids? Whoa! And then the snow gear and the rain gear and everything else multiple times a year, depending on how fast your child is growing and stuff. Dude, how do you afford that?
It's a good thing that in Germany they have a lot of these children's clothing markets where you can get really good quality secondhand shoes for a really reasonable price. Okay, so another sign that you are raising your kids in Germany is when you can confidently breastfeed your baby wherever you want without getting looks of disapproval.
Breastfeeding in Germany is normalized. Interesting. I would say in America, you might get some looks depending on where you pop a titty at. Like if you pop a titty in public somewhere, you might get some like, whoa. And I don't think it's like a you shouldn't be doing that kind of a look, but it's like, whoa, there's a just popped a titty out in public kind of a look. You know what I mean? Maybe that doesn't make any sense. Anyways.
I breastfed both of my kids in Germany, and I was able to do it anywhere and still feel comfortable. I would do it in cafes, I would do it on the street, on a park bench. I would just breastfeed my kids anywhere. It didn't matter if my kids were hungry, I would feed them, and I would always do it quite discreetly. You'd never see my boob flop out or anything. So I would, I'd do it in a very discreet way, but I wouldn't care where I was.
I think that that's also probably normal in America nowadays. Like maybe put like a little towel over, or like a little bit discreet. Definitely a little bit discreet, but I think that that's pretty much normalized too in America.
Breastfeed, and I see a lot of German mums doing this. I remember there would be times in Germany in those early days where my baby would be screaming with hunger, and I would just have to sit down on the side of the road, on a bench, and feed my baby. I never once got a disapproving look or somebody that made me feel uncomfortable. I'd even get other German women kind of giving me a look of approval, good on you for breastfeeding in public, that kind of thing. I remember being in New Zealand with Amelia when she was 6 months old, and I just presumed it was going to be exactly the same in New Zealand as far as breastfeeding and pro-breastfeeding, but it actually wasn't. And I remember getting some really disapproving looks for breastfeeding Amelia in public. I just really appreciate the fact that Germany is so pro-breastfeeding. It is the most natural way to feed your baby, and it shouldn't be something that is frowned upon, or women shouldn't have to go and hide to feed their baby.
Yeah, I mean, I have never breastfed in public, to be honest, but I feel like in America it's mostly accepted. It's mostly normalized. But then again, I don't know. I guess I would have to breastfeed in order to see the reactions, but it seems like it wouldn't be a big deal in America if I had to guess.
Okay, so another sign that you are raising your kids in Germany is when you are at a playground and you see a child doing something that you would consider extremely dangerous, like almost life-threatening. And then the other German mums around are not fazed in the slightest about it. They're barely even watching. And honestly, this was one of the hardest things for me to kind of get used to. I've talked about this in other videos. I have to bring it up again because I believe that this is a huge cultural difference between parenting in New Zealand and parenting in Germany.
Yeah, this would be definitely the same thing in America too. Like, we call them helicopter parents, where they just kind of hover over top of their child and they don't really let them like do anything remotely dangerous at all. Like, not even like go in the park alone or anything like that. But from what I've seen, like in Germany, that's kind of the opposite. It's like, go be a kid and do stuff, and you're going to fall down and you're going to get hurt, but that's kind of like part of learning how to do stuff, is making mistakes and learning from them. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think that I kind of like the German way better. Like, go let kids be kids and, you know, don't let them play in traffic or something, but teach them what to do and what not to do, and then let them probably, you know, learn from their mistakes themselves. I think that's a good idea.
German parents, they let their children take risks and experiment and explore. And by doing this, I have noticed that German kids have very, very good gross motor skills at a very, very young age. This definitely has a lot to do with the German parenting style of letting their children take risks. So I'm going to give you an example.
Okay.
Close to where we live, there is a playground with a really, really high fence made of cobblestone. And the kids like to climb up on this fence. They can kind of put their feet through the little gaps in the cobblestone, and they climb up and they like to walk around the fence, which goes around the entire playground. This is a very high fence, and I would consider this to be very dangerous. Like, if a child lost balance, they could really hurt themselves falling down. Except the kids in my neighborhood do it all the time. They walk around this fence. My little girl Amelia, she's 6, and she saw some of her friends climbing up on this fence and walking around, and she wanted to do the same, except I was the only mum that totally freaked out and said, Amelia, you can't do this. Amelia was really upset that she was the only kid that wasn't allowed to walk around this really high fence. And the other German mums were just kind of like, oh, it's fine, you know, it's not that dangerous, and, you know, just she'll be fine. And so I reluctantly let Amelia climb up and walk around this fence. But in my heart, I was like, okay, this is so dangerous. I don't know whether I should be letting her do this. And then I was kind of questioning myself. I was like, am I crazy letting her do this? Or am I crazy for not letting her do this? Because there's a group of German mothers here who are all not in the slightest bit worried about their children doing this. I'm the only one that's panicking about this. And so I reluctantly let Amelia do it. And she was absolutely fine. She didn't fall off, and she wasn't like running along the fence. She was walking like slowly around. But still, I didn't feel comfortable about it, and I don't know whether I should have let her. It was a tough kind of situation to be in because, you know, Amelia was going to be the odd one out, and she really wanted to do it. So I don't know where to draw the line when it comes to this kind of thing. Okay, so another sign that you are raising your kids in Germany is when you go to a swimming pool, like a public swimming pool or a lake, and you see mothers everywhere in all shapes and sizes strutting around in their bikinis and swimsuits. So they could be 8 months pregnant with this huge big belly chasing around after their toddler, and they don't care. They're just like, I want to have fun with my kids. I don't care that I'm 8 months pregnant. Not only will you see a lot of...
Okay. That's the whole thing. So pregnant people go to the pool and stuff. Does that happen in America? I'm sure it does, but I don't know. I don't do like swimming activities very much. I don't go to pools or lakes or places to swim, so I don't know, but I would assume that I would assume that people in America do that, but I don't know. This is a good one, though. This is a good one. This one makes me think. I'm not
Pregnant
sure.
women in swimsuits. You'll also see a lot of women postpartum in swimsuits. So maybe they've given birth like 2 weeks ago and they've got their tiny little baby under the arm, and they do not care that they have stretch marks and that they haven't lost their baby weight.
Okay. So it's more about like body positivity around motherhood. That's cool. I like that. We could always use more of that. Sure. That's great. I love it.
I think this body positivity is so awesome in Germany, because I think a lot of parents in other countries would refuse to get in a swimsuit if they didn't look perfect, if you know what I mean. Like if they had stretch marks, or if they were carrying a bit of extra baby weight, they would hide away rather than just get in there and play with their kids and make memories and have fun with their kids.
Okay, I think now that I think about it, I think that America is more so what she's saying, where people are self-conscious about that kind of stuff. Okay, so this is good. Another good one for Germany. Pretty cool.
When I was pregnant with my little girl Amelia, I would never ever have gone out in public and showed my big pregnant belly off in a bikini. And I totally changed my mindset when I was pregnant with Mateo, my son. I would take Amelia to the lake, the river, the pool, and I would see all these other mums, having fun with their kids, splashing around in the water, getting in there with their kids and enjoying themselves. And I was the odd one out. And then I was like, hey, I want to do that too. So I reluctantly put on my swimsuit with my huge, big, pregnant belly sticking out, and I got in that water and had fun with my little girl. No one looked at me weirdly, no one cared, and I was able to just get in there and make memories with my little girl without worrying about how I looked. So anyway, guys, those were the 5 signs that you are raising your kids in Germany.
All right, that was awesome. Definitely learned a thing or two. Definitely a lot of differences between raising a kid in Germany compared to America. And I gotta say, some of the German things really make sense. Like, I like the idea of letting kids be kids and do stuff on their own without having to always be hovering around them and stuff. But I'm curious what you guys have to say about it, since you guys are the experts after all. So what do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts. Leave your mustard down in the comment section below. Do you think the German way is the best way? Or is there anything else about raising kids in Germany that she forgot to mention? But anyways, that's all the time that I have for today. So thank you guys so much for being here. And as always, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.